It's 2020, since 20.
Alrighty. So my name is Gio, or Jeffrey Calderon, for those of you who don't know me. We are waiting on one member, but since he's not here, generally what we'll do is we'll begin because we do have a quorum. I'd like to ask if any of you all would be comfortable with becoming the acting chair for this meeting, to chair this meeting.
I'll do vice chair.
Okay.
I can do it.
So you'd basically be the acting chair and you would run this meeting.
Okay.
And then at the next meeting, y'all would appoint the chair.
Okay.
So you can go ahead and begin.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And it is, where's the clock? Oh,
It is 5:31.
okay. 5:31. Any public comments?
We do not have any public comment.
Okay.
Okay, so next up, I can take over for the next two items.
Okay.
Next up, we will have the signing of statement of officer. And at this time, if you could please locate and sign the statement of officer before you. Once signed, we can proceed to the next item.
Did you bring your notary stamp?
I don't, I'm gonna basically use the title of city secretary to offer, to basically swear you in.
Okay, and so you don't need these notarized?
No, I can do it myself.
Okay. I was holding off because the notary needs to witness the signature.
Yeah, city secretary is authorized to administer oaths for city business. Okay, y'all have signed your statement of officer, because that is required before you take your oath. Yeah. Okay, if you can go ahead and stand up, raise your right hand, hold it up high. Together in one clear and ringing voice, please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Jerry Davis,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of
that I will faithfully execute the duties of
Building and Standards Commissioner
Building and Standards Commissioner
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas,
and will, to the best of my ability,
and will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of this state.
and of the state.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you for your service to the city, and you may be seated.
Installed in and sworn to domestic.
Okay, acting chair, if you could just start on number 5, we don't have any public hearings today.
No public, any public hearings? None today. Okay. Approved minutes from previous board meeting.
Yeah.
Discussion items. Presentation by city staff concerning a list of current properties that have been identified, the steps taken to begin the process, and applicable timelines.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce Jessica Borch, she's our permit technician, and also Andrew Devaney, he's our building official. And they'll be taking over for this agenda item.
Good evening, everyone. So I put in your guys' packet, the building services department. It's kind of just a letterhead of kind of the things that we've been working on. And then there's also a sheet of the buildings that we've identified so far that we consider to be dangerous buildings. We know that there's going to be plenty more. These are just from field and inspections, and then also complaints from citizens. With those attached dangerous buildings, you'll see some of the actions that we have taken. And these start with letters. We send out to the property owners a letter letting them know that we've identified a dangerous building, and we have them contact our office. Our goal from our department is to have the property owner abate the process if possible. That's our number one goal. So from the code enforcement side, we identify whether it's from one of you guys reaching out to our department or the citizens or us finding it in the field, contacting that property owner. Hopefully they contact us back and we work with them in some way for them to abate it so it doesn't cost the city money. That's our ultimate goal. We will have to take it to court if they don't abate the process, so it'd be a citation. And that is a process that our department does take with code enforcement. And so the list will become bigger than it is now. We do have many places in town that need to be demolished or repaired. Again, we do really want to focus on the property owner taking care of it if we can. And going forward, because this is kind of new, we have a few new people in the building and standards, the legal process that we need to take, and having a checklist for that, because in the past, we've came across some that took all the steps and then we were lacking a step. And so it actually didn't get to the demolished stage. And so we would like for that to go all the way through if we're going to take that much time to do that process. And so that's the one thing that I've identified in past properties that have came up again as a problem. And I just don't have the information to pursue it legally. So we need to just make sure that we do every step possible. And that means letters and newspaper postings and doing all the things that we're supposed to do. And so I'm going to work really hard. I haven't gotten that set up yet, but I'm going to work really hard to make sure we have a good checkoff list so we know where we're at with every property that we're working with. And the main reason that we want property owners to take care of their property if possible is because the city does not have a lot of money to abate properties. So if we can work with the people to do it, and we do have, like, I think out of the list, we have 3 that we've already taken care of. And there's actually another one that I've spoken to on this list as of today that got a demolition permit. So there are people that know that they have problems and they're trying to take care of it, but everything costs money. So we're trying to work with people. There has been a couple people that brought up the idea, and this is just an idea about the fire department and working with some sort of program. We'd have to look up the legalities of it, but I know I'm originally from the state of Washington, and there was a program where fire department would come in and they would donate their property for volunteer service. And so I thought it was a cool idea. I don't know legally how you could do that, but it's something that we can maybe look into. We would like to work together in our department, building services, and with you on workshops, just to make sure that we're on the same page and we have the same properties and taking care of the most crucial hazards, because there are some in town that need to be definitely demolished. There's no way that they're going to be repaired. Yes, sir.
I would say that I'm going to vote against that. Texas A&M has out in the country a large piece of property with numerous structures where they do training, and they are heavily involved in the safety of that training. Ours is a voluntary fire department. Some of these people are volunteers and are probably as trained in firefighting as I am. Fire is very dangerous. If it gets out of control, who knows what would happen. So if we want to train the firemen, I suggest we try to have a bake sale or something and send them to the school at A&M where they will be properly trained.
Okay.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Okay. And then does anybody else have any questions?
On that, donating the land to the fire department, you also have to remember that the cleanup is still required.
Yes.
And that's where the city will have to pay for that.
Mhm. Yeah. The money part is the problem. So we already know that going into this, and even opening up the board again, that we're going to have a money issue. And so that's why the focus is if the property owner can take care of it first. And we can send citations every time we send a letter. And I mean, we can keep taking them to court, which really if you don't have the money to demolish your home, it's kind of hard to keep giving them a ticket too. I mean, it's a really hard thing to do, but some of these are major hazards, and you wouldn't want your kids playing in them. You wouldn't want, and if they're not boarded up correctly, I mean, there's a lot of older places that can't be, they just need to be taken to the ground. So, and that's really what it's about, life, health, safety. And those are the ones we want to identify first. We can get real picky, but I think the ones that are the major issue are the ones that we need to focus on first.
I have another question, and I'm sorry if I'm interrupting, and if you're gonna cover it, then tell me so and I'll wait. But there's a young lady named, I think, Bill,
Adelina.
Adelina, yes, thank you. So her description talks about environmental and beautification. So how do y'all demarc between what's your responsibility and what's her responsibility?
Adelina works for our department part-time, so she's a code compliance officer for the building services department. And she works for the environmental services department. So her job in environmental is different than what she does for our department.
Okay, but if she's doing work for your department, she'll be doing the same thing.
She's working on mainly illegal dumping, high weeds, environmental in that direction. She's not as much in enforcing the dangerous building side of things. She mainly focuses on the environmental side.
And then if you're gonna cover it again, you've color coded this, and I should have brought my reading glasses. So what's the purpose of the color coding?
So green means that it's been completed, so it's resolved. If you look at the status,
Okay,
it's been resolved. And then if it's red, it's a citation has been given, so it's at court.
okay.
And then if there's a yellow mark, it usually has a note or and there's not very many yellow in here. I think I printed this out a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
and some of them have the same address twice. That means they've been cited twice.
So if there's two different names for that same address, that means that two different people own that property.
Yes.
So they've both been cited for that property. So if you have multiple people at different locations, these people live in two different parts of the country, so they own that property together.
Okay, so it'd be like an estate or something where. Joint. Thank you.
Is there anything else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank
That was
you.
quick, I'm sorry, kept you up there.
Okay. Okay. Discussion between commissioner and city staff, we've done that, right?
So this item is actually reserved for questions that the commissioners have, and any other comments or items that the staff would like to address with the commission as well.
There's one that I have to go over here. It's on Saul Ross, West Saul Ross, 1200 block, I think.
Do you have the item number?
That's what I'm looking for. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Jess, right off the?
And number 7.
Number 7? Yes, that's it. Number 7. They started boarding. They still need to do a lot more boarding up. Because I don't know if the city code is still the same, but every window has to be boarded, every window. And what he did was took boards and put them around the porch, around the foundation. That was it. So that one is not resolved.
What if it's a 2-story?
It's a 2-story.
Is that-
You
is that
still
the-
have to.
That's a one.
Is that the 2-story right there by the train tracks?
Uh-huh.
Got it.
That one still has to have all window. There cannot be any access to animals, people,
I see.
nothing. It all has to be
I
boarded,
see.
even
Okay.
2-story. Yes.
Because birds can get in the windows.
And coons and,
I got it.
They have a problem with birds in Europe
yeah.
with old buildings.
So that's not resolved. That one I did notice. Okay. I think that was it on those for now.
Were we gonna go back over any of the ones we've dealt with previously?
Maybe at a later date.
I know like some like there's ones over by
Avenue H over by
at that old grocery store. over
La
there, people been
Casita?
living in, yeah.
the old meat market.
Mhm.
We had those scheduled for demo because they had squatters in there. all three buildings or four buildings.
Yeah, I think it was like,
Four. It was the store, a house built on, and then two others. And they'd broken into and broken out windows and everything. And that's still not boarded up either. And then the other one is the one, and it's Kitty Corner on Avenue H. It's the little rock house. That is what everybody in town refers to as the crack house.
That's number 23.
Is that number 23? Okay.
kind
Uh,
of crushed down or happened.
Yeah, that one, nothing's been done. It's just gotten worse. But now I'll tell you a story behind that is the lady that owns the property got somebody to pay all her back taxes for her. Because she hadn't paid the taxes in I don't know how many years. And then she came to our meeting and wanted the city to repair the house at their cost for her. And we're like, we don't do that, man. You know, you either fix it on your dime or you tear it down on your dime. So,
The property on the corner that you were talking about, the meat market, actually sold recently.
Yeah.
oh, did it sell?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, did the owners know that that still goes with the property?
I'm not sure exactly what the owners know, but I do know that I saw it sold at a tax sale. And,
Uh-huh.
so I mean.
So they probably don't know, and you will have to get in touch with them and let them know. Because that is the owners, and that was another one that taxes hadn't been paid on that in like 10 years or
I was
so.
gonna say that, I know back taxes transferred to the new owner. I know that. 'cause
Yeah,
I've
but-
been the new owner.
But the, that is, whatever we said on that property still stands today. Even if it's changed hands. And that's city ordinance or state law, I'm not sure which. Do you remember?
I do not know.
I don't either, but it's in it's in the paperwork. So it has to, they have to be notified of that.
Yeah, we are going to be sure that we're going to follow the appropriate steps. And, you know, last time, as I mentioned before, the city didn't keep accurate enough records in
Mhm.
order for us to proceed with these demolitions.
Mhm.
So going forward, we're going to be sure that we follow the processes, keep the records, and follow the process right, because we've already consulted the city attorney.
Mhm.
And based on the records that we have, they're insufficient for us to proceed on those previous actions.
Right.
So we're basically at square one right now.
Again, yeah, but it'll probably go unless they start making some major improvements. The board will probably still follow the same ruling.
But then the whole process would need to begin again. at this point.
Okay.
Is that a specific number on here? Do-
The one they're talking about, that rock house?
No.
that's not on there. I
No,
don't-
no, it's not on here.
We, I imagine, either you have it or I have it, the old notes.
We have the old notes, yeah.
We kept all of our records from day one.
Mhm.
So I have another question, actually two.
Mhm.
So my understanding is that in previous sessions and previous councils,
Mhm.
that when you condemned a property, you condemned everything on the property.
That's the way the city ordinance read at the time.
Okay. but
Now,
that
whether
has
it's
been fixed.
I don't know. I don't know.
So can we find out?
So
That we-
you have to remove a primary structure, everything on that property has to be.
What if
removed
it's a
with it.
secondary structure?
It
It's
has
still-
to-
it's still
everything has to
saying-
Be removed with it.
So,
Mhm.
An outshed or a
Yeah.
garden shed.
That's one of the
main house
ordinances.
Has to be taken down too.
Yes.
So-
Yeah, that's one of the ordinances we were trying to change as a board because we did not agree with it. Because some of these properties have a brand new house on them. And they've got a shed in the back that needs to come down. But if we say demolish that shed, well, that brand new house has to be demolished too.
Is there efforts to fix that?
I don't know. I don't know.
So you all as a board would have the power to recommend ordinance changes to the city council. If you felt that our ordinances need to be updated, you can certainly discuss it at a meeting, get in contact with me, add it to the agenda, and then let me know exactly what changes you want to make. And I could basically go over that with you all, how to basically make the changes and get the ordinance recommended or recommendation passed by a majority vote of the board. At that point, it would be considered by the city council.
Okay.
That's why
I've
a
never
lot
read
of,
that Ordinance though, so I'd be interested.
yeah, it's an ordinance and that we put a lot of properties on hold because of that. We knew like this old garage or old shed in the back corner of the yard needed to come down, but the way the ordinance stated, we would have to, they'd have to demolish the brand new house.
Yeah, the barber shop over on Murphy Street next to the bottle house, that was the same way, because that house behind it is nice when Wade lives there, but that barber
Mhm.
shop need to come down.
I would like to see the ordinance. 'Cause I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it's an ordinance.
Cause it's showing here, section 18-287, orders of the court. Letter C, orders of the court, or B, excuse me. If the structure is occupied and the court issues an order pursuant to subsection, the structure shall be vacated, occupants relocated. For residential structure is removed or demolished pursuant to this article, any and all accessory structures located on the same property shall be removed or demolished.
That's what we
regardless
did,
of
yeah.
Structural condition,
Mhm.
but
That's it.
that's the residential structure which would constitute the primary residence. Any and all.
That's not what it's
structures
saying,
like
though.
Is saying there, but a residential structure, to the best of my knowledge, definition would not be considered an accessory, and we can look it up.
But the way that's worded, it says all buildings on that property.
If a primary structure is deemed substandard, any and all accessory structures need to be demolished as well. But in regards to the opposite of that, I'm not finding anything in here that says if a garage has to come down detached accessories, that the primary structure has to come down as well. I
Okay,
have not found
I have
that.
not found
I have
that.
not found that either.
okay. Yeah, they may have changed it since our last meeting, because I know Robert was working on that.
But that's good to bring up to make
Yeah.
sure, like you were saying.
Yeah, we don't want to tear down, if they have a nice garage, outbuds have a crappy, or
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, we want to be able to make.
Right,
Yeah.
and that was part of my question, because
If we
some of
could-
these old homesteads, they have a well house behind.
Uh-huh.
That was like 8 by 10.
Right.
And it literally is caving in, and I've driven by another property where there's a garage. That the garage now is leaning at about 30 degrees to the ground, but the house appears to be in great
Either
shape.
y'all would have to get with Rod on that, or we would have to ask him at our next meeting or something.
will Rod be at our meetings normally?
He's supposed to be. We're supposed to have a lawyer at every one of our meetings.
Okay.
So
And you say the other Robert is working on that now.
he was,
Okay.
but when they shut us down, I think he quit
Well,
working
he's
on
been
it.
reappointed.
Yes,
He was reappointed 2
Yeah.
city council meetings ago.
yeah.
Which Robert is this?
Savory.
Savory's.
And I've got a second question. So who here is a professional structural engineer licensed by the state of Texas?
Not a one, not one in town.
Not one in town.
So if we condemn a property
Mhm.
and the owner declares it repaired, is there anybody here qualified? to make
Now,
that
that's
asset?
where these two people right here come into
Right.
play.
There's if there's an order of abatement or alteration or repair, that would be up to the court, but anything after that, they would require to provide the following permits, and which we would have jurisdiction in that, whether it be the property maintenance code or the international residential code, to ask for a licensed structural engineer to deem that safe. Or
Would that be something we would do as a matter of course?
It would be on a case by case basis, depending on what the level of alteration is. But yes, that would be something we would definitely want to do to satisfy the court as well as city of Alpine.
All right, and again, personal experience, I bought 2 old houses. I'm in one right now that was built in 1909.
Mhm.
And as soon as you open up a wall, nothing meets code. And I mean that
No.
literally, but if you don't open up a wall, if you just put a coat of paint on there and you make everything look good again, then
But that would depend on what the court order is and what the level of alteration that we.
okay. But once the condemnation occurs, does it have to come up to current code?
Mhm.
Any and all.
Right, right.
Alterations would be up to current.
Yeah, so basically like any kind of ruling we make, whether to abate a house, to demo it, whatever else. These guys are basically like our officers. They'll go out and check, make sure everything's done correctly. It goes through our city building officials to make sure everything's up to code. whether it be torn down or cleaned up or whatever, basically.
Their course of action, then we would come back with
Yeah.
the presentation and give you all a status of.
Yeah, you give us a status, and they used to provide us with photos of the building. Because they would.
Before and after, or just,
Before, during, and then after, because it might take 4 or 5 of our board meetings to say, okay, it's done, it's good, we've done what we needed to for the city and the people. And most of the houses that we required to be torn down, the walls are like this, and, or there are no walls left. No
Or like
roof,
that shed. It's
no
leaning at 30
roof
degrees.
left, those are the kind of buildings we tear down. The ones that are just busted up beyond repair. It's just cheaper to tear it down and build new. That's the ones that we usually,
Okay,
required.
but as the example you brought up earlier with that property over by the railroad tracks, right next to the bridge. That's a pier and beam foundation.
Mhm,
That house is not leaning, but the house has suffered years and years of neglect, and that neglect almost always extends to the foundation, which is the most exposed
uh-huh,
and presents the greatest dangers.
mhm.
So do you guys go under the house and look at the foundations or do any of the?
We go out there and we'll look at the property if we get the list early enough. And we will get down on our knees, we'll peek in a window, if nobody's living there.
well, the fire damage that happened in that house, I've been in there once before, and it's pretty sufficient as to fire damage. I don't know if it went down below the subfloor or what have you, but it was pretty bad.
That house inside has been you're talking about the 2-story?
Yes, ma'am.
It has been totally gutted.
Mhm.
Needs all new wiring, new everything,
Knew everything.
because I had a friend who was looking into buying it, and then he went in it, and he's a contractor, carpenter, builder, and he said, no,
Mhm.
he said it needs to be demolished. And then another lady said she wanted to buy it. She said, mm-mm, no.
Okay.
It has been recently purchased though.
It also.
Is
also
that
has
still the
been sold.
attorney, or did the attorney from Odessa sell it? Okay.
I was also looking into maybe purchasing it too, but once I saw it, I came up with the same.
Yeah,
conclusion.
but it's a total knockdown real, unless you've got mega bucks to sink into it,
Exactly.
because you gotta basically build it from the bottom up.
Yes, ma'am. But and again, you see what's going on in Marfa.
No, I try to avoid Marfa.
Okay, but most of those houses are actually purchased as tear down, so this issue doesn't come up.
Mhm.
They pay 80,000 for an old shack and a lot, and then they put a $500,000 house on it, and 5 years later, they sell it for $1.2 million.
No, that's their problem.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
fixing
Hopefully
up
we
old
answered your
houses is a very
questions.
complicated deal.
Yeah.
And having remodeled a couple of old houses. Well, just like at Porter's,
Yeah,
once they started tearing into it, they discovered things that they didn't know about.
Mhm.
And again, a lot of people will try to do cosmetic repairs to make it look good. And
that building really
Long
hasn't
time.
had anything done to it since it was first built. And I can't tell you when it was first built, back in the 50s, maybe
Yes,
60s.
Hmm.
Maybe older than that even, I don't know. But yeah, they don't do any upkeep. They may throw some paint on the wall and call it good. That's it.
and our responsibility stops at condemning it.
Yeah, you can't, if we can't really go in a building unless it's an abandoned building and open to the elements. Okay, if it's boarded up, the door's locked, the windows are closed, can't step foot in it,
Without a court order.
because then you're trespassing.
But we would have the option for search warrants. If needed, but that would be the responsibility of us, the building services. If y'all have any properties that y'all see, like you're saying, that need rehab or whatnot, it
Oh.
would be us up to the determination of building services to go through the International Property Maintenance Code, existing building code, our law code and ordinances, and to do a checklist of what you're saying, if it's not structurally sound, it's not this, depending on whatever the violation may be. So if it's coming back and they just throw a coat of paint on it, if you will, or we would have our pictures, our justification before to
Mhm.
know that's not what
Documentation.
is needed. It needs to be more repair, then we come back to y'all with the status. It will not get finalized and citations would still be issued
Mhm.
by building services to make sure they are 100% in compliance, whether it be alteration, abatement, repair, whatever's needed. So
Yeah.
we would have an active rolling case to know exactly the process of what they're gonna be doing.
Because a lot of our smaller houses, like on the Avenue E, those little bungalows, those all came off the Air Force Base in Marfa back in the 40s.
Okay, the ones down by the railroad track.
No, these are right
Okay,
on Avenue E, right? Am I Avenue E?
It's They're the
The one
same
way
buildings
going
that Sol
east.
Ross used to have over there by where the Hampton is now. Remember those?
Those all got moved to Marathon.
I believe it.
Yeah, those all got bought and moved to
They're
Marathon.
the same type,
Mhm.
the same
Mhm.
case.
yeah, there's 3 little houses. This is how long they've been there. When I attended Sol Ross in 74, those houses were there and they're renting them to students.
The 3 rock houses up.
They're not rock. They're just east of the Lobo.
You're talking those little green shacks.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
One of them's boarded up.
Mhm.
They're not.
One in the
That-
middle, just
that was
had
a-
a little-
Well,
Yeah, those came up before us,
Mike McMillan.
what, 2019, those
Something like
buildings?
that. Mike McMillan's properties, we had them boarded, that was one of our cases, we had them board those up.
Yes. And as long as they are where people can go, the owners can go and board it up to where no critters, people can get in it, you know, for safety reasons, purposes, then it's good according to our code and state, you know, our ordinances. Now, and they have to patch the holes in the roofs and stuff, any opening period has to be sealed up.
And it can be leaning to a 30-degree angle, but still have the boards and everything up. would still-
That we tell them either to repair it or demolish it when the buildings start doing this, because anybody could, a child could be out there playing and it
Yeah,
fall on
yeah.
them. So that's unsafe for the public. So it gets into that fine line where it's still a box if they yank the siding, put new siding like they're doing to the house down here across from Cobos's. They've stripped it down to the studs. Now they're going back. So stuff like
That
that.
one's on Lockhart.
No, it's on East Holland here.
Yeah.
It's down by McDonald's and Cobos's service
Oh,
station.
Okay, another one down.
Put white-
GSM and
Yeah,
yeah,
I
Yeah.
did another one.
Yeah, they're putting white rock around it.
twice as much as the new building's gonna cost.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they started out remodeling. And that's my point. If you're not a structural engineer.
Yeah.
You don't understand, but you know, again, they started remodeling it, but then as they got into it,
uh-huh.
they discovered things that they couldn't repair.
But those houses are what? How old is Alpine?
1882 roughly.
I think it dates back actually further than that.
So
The
I'm
park-
gonna say, you know, 1900s on some of these houses, because that was one of the, well, it wasn't really one of the main streets, but yeah, I'm gonna probably say the 1930s, 40s, 50s in there's when those houses were built, probably.
And I won't take anybody else's time, but I may come and sit down with you and explore some of these things with you.
Okay.
And our biggest point is, I think I forgot who it was that was talking about the 30 degrees, as long as they're boarded up. Sometimes that's not necessarily the case in regards to here. Section 18284, conditions requiring abatement, new structure, deterioration, decay, and inadequacy of its floor joists, subfloors, likely cause the structure to partially and completely collapse. We do have methods out there that we could go past just boarding up No.
Right.
See cracks in the
And
wall.
that's where that falls
We
on
do have
you.
avenues that we could
All right.
pursue on-
Yeah, that's what.
That's where that falls on you to bring us pictures.
Correct, and picture, again, we want to start that since talking with Mr. Shute, Mr. Builder, how long ago this has been, and with me being newer here.
Uh-huh. We'll work with you, not a problem.
Kind of start over, if you will, just
Mhm.
dot our i's and cross our t's.
Yes.
Through our whole process.
Yes.
With pictures, everything's going off ordinance with the court, all the way till 100%.
Yeah, 'cause that way it's good, because some of us, might go through and look at some of the houses from the road for these meetings, but a lot of times you come in like a little presentation where I have pictures and some of the issues are,
Mhm.
faulty cracks, you have a 2-inch crack in an adobe wall. Air, whatever else, holes in the roof that's gonna cause mold, mildew, trees, vegetation inside the house.
So that would be one we would start the case on.
Yes, yes.
Like the one on Eagle Pass by the railroad tracks
Oh, that,
on Eagle Pass, that you can look at the front and see through the back and the sides. Yeah, that one's that one will be a come down.
This side of the road on that. side of the
Is
road.
that
It's on
yeah,
that
that's just my
side.
house, I guess. Well, look what you're doing there.
So I was.
I think that's on here, item number 3.
I don't know. Item number 3.
The one when we pass.
No, these are different.
Oh, that's a trailer?
Yeah, these are different.
701.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
That's one with the real leaning carport, the metal carport that's at a
Oh,
severe
we
angle.
can ask them about that.
Yeah, I've seen that one playing. What do you think about that? That looks pretty dangerous to me.
What's that,
Yeah.
the leaning carport?
Yeah, it's over on down the street from my house, like 2 blocks down on.
Where you
Eagle Pass.
live?
I live on 9th and Eagle Pass.
9th and Eagle Pass.
And where's it at?
This is like probably 11th or 12th in Eagle Pass.
Oh, it's
Yeah,
on, it's
on-
up
in front
next
of the
to,
trailer, it's pushed over about like that.
Yeah.
You could probably push it back, but
I
it
don't-
needs to come down.
I mean, it's what, I-beams or C-beams?
Well,
I-
we're still tubing.
Yeah, square tubing
No, it's bigger than that. It's not square tubing.
on the
On
uprights.
uprights, yeah,
Yeah, the upper,
They're 4-inch square tubing, I think.
yeah, it is.
are they?
See per row.
If we get a heavy snow, it'll come down.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. But I mean, it's not,
Do we protect homeowners from themselves?
no,
Okay, that answers that question.
no, we protect the citizens,
We protect the public
the public
from
from,
negligence of others.
yeah, of property owners, yes.
So again, getting back to the codes for a residence are considerably different from the codes for a commercial establishment.
Right,
We have old residences here that are being converted into restaurants and cafes and things. And that's the worst set of codes, because a residence is, a foundation residence, 50 pounds per square foot. In a restaurant or a bar, it's 200 pounds per square foot, because you have congregation of people. That's the point of the establishment. Retail outlet, like a clothing store out west, someplace like that, I think their floor load rating is somewhere like 125 or 150.
but they're concrete floors.
Some of them are, but again, when we're talking about converting a residence into a business,
They have to follow if they're gonna do that, they have to go by the codes. The city ordinances, the city codes to meet that requirement. They have to go in and reinforce and all that kind of stuff. They have to do that. That's not in our jurisdiction.
Yeah, that would be on building services, right?
That's not us.
Change of use. residential.
We are just basically, if it's safe enough for the public to be around it or to tear it down for health hazards.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Me, again, I can reiterate what Ms. Borth was saying, and you did a good presentation. I think our biggest thing is trying to get the citizens on board. Biggest frustration.
Yeah.
now is we have people living out of state, so it's more out of sight, out of mind. They pay the citation, well, the process starts over again.
Right, because
And our budget, abatement, stuff
And-
like that. is-
Ideally, we can get them to take care of all the stuff themselves. Because it's city, we don't have the money to do it.
But
Right.
we'll-
And we always try to get the owners to take care of it. Because then if we do it, we're putting a lien against your property.
Which we do have that.
Yeah, I know there's one property that we did that with.
We just want to make it not advantageous for us as a city as well. Obviously, we're gonna make Alpine better, like
Yeah.
health safety wise, if there's a cost recovery.
Right, right. And then, like, if they come in and they get a permit to, I don't know, build or improve, restore, or demolish, at our next meeting, you would let us know about that, because when you issue the permits, there's a time limit that they have to do it within.
And that would be, according to my best experience, that would be dependent on the court. On us, our permits expire at 180 days out. They
Okay,
can always ask for
an
an
extension.
extension, but
Yes.
that also, that's up to the discretion of the building official, or it could be up to y'all as well. In
And-
regards, if they're making progress, if they're really trying, I have no problem,
It-
honestly, helping them. But If
Mhm,
they're just gonna sit on it and not, then we won't do that. We will report that back to the court.
uh-huh.
And in previous experiences, the courts have set deadlines regardless of what we want.
We go by what your permits, the timeline they allow. They have this, like 160 days
We will definitely be
to,
here every month to let you know of our current status of where we are with our most.
okay, and if they haven't done anything, well, excuse me, it might be that they, like you said, live out of state or whatever and having problems getting, but they're going to, until that 160 days, we just kind of sit on it. But as it gets closer,
And
then
that
we,
would be us in building services to make sure they are complying with
yes.
the court order in a timely manner.
Well, it wouldn't really be a court order. It would be, yes, it would be a court order from us. And then it would be you issuing the permits. Now, sometimes they'll come in before the case gets to us. And they'll get the permits,
Which is.
which is
honestly
fine.
What we prefer,
Yeah.
we would prefer 100% compliance when, like Jessica was
Uh-huh.
referring to, send them a letter, hopefully no citations. We never want to give out a citation, but we have to.
Now, I do know that also, like, when they're demoing, the water people, city employees, and the gas have to go in, mark all the lines. Then you have to dig out
Yeah, and that would be. on
the
my side.
water meter, gas meters,
Sure.
sewer. They all have to be capped.
Yes, that would be.
That's
my
on y'all.
discretion. What I would do
Mhm.
if they come in for a permit for a demo, and we would already hopefully anticipate them doing a permit by communication from them. I would tell them to,
What's
contracted
what?
plumber, what I'm looking for out there, gas is shut off, cap, water line just past the meters, capped as close as possible. Sewer line is close to the sewer tap, 90's up, at least 24 to 32 inches above grade.
Uh-huh.
So if there are any future builds, we
It-
know exactly where. to
Yes.
balance it.
And the water, I think the water is supposed to be done the same way. Is that right? They all have to be above grade.
I don't.
I don't know about the water, because the meter you're gonna be able to see with that
The
cap.
meter's
I mean, you don't want to remove that meter,
Yeah.
because the less time we have to cut the streets in this
Right.
town, the better off we are. So
Right.
we can cap it on the other side of the meter, but the meter itself should be pretty,
No, because I have one at my house, they can't find it.
yeah.
So, and it's
In
there.
normal circumstances, they would leave it, you would have a 12 inch just popping out of
Yeah.
that cap. We would verify that. They would cover.
Okay.
that
What
section.
about septic tank?
Septic tanks, and that goes back to TCEQ on some of those. I'll have to get a little more information on that. But from previous experience, they would either have to do select build, stable, 100% concrete. It would have to be completely encapsulated.
Usually they'll go in, drain them if they can.
Mhm.
If not, then they collapse them and backfill them with dirt and compact them
I've
real
seen
well.
those.
Yes.
Yeah.
So another question, because some of this conversation doesn't make sense. Electricians have to be licensed by the city. Plumbers have to be licensed by the city. Demolition companies don't have to be licensed, because if they're licensed, they're gonna know all of this and they're gonna comply with it.
No, those departments, according to our city ordinances, fall to the city employees to take care of that, because they're the ones that are gonna have to go out and hook them back up and turn them on for whatever's gonna go there on that property.
Yes, ma'am, but a licensed plumber
Mhm.
should know all the requirements for capping a meter, capping a sewer line, and capping a gas line, because they're licensed to work with all three utilities on the property and in the residence. So, and again.
But if
I'm
there's
just
not,
bringing it
if
up.
there's not anybody hired to build, then you won't have those. You won't have a certified electrician or plumber, because you're demoing. You don't need any of that on demo.
Yeah,
You don't need
I
it.
don't know what
Yeah.
again, I don't want to make things complicated, and I already know the city is shorthanded on so many things.
Uh-huh.
If,
We're trying to make it easier and cheaper on the city
okay, but
doing it this way.
right now, it takes 90 days in the queue to get a water meter or a gas meter installed.
But we're not them.
I understand, but if we start adding uninstall to that queue goes much longer.
That's part of the city ordinances there. It's most of that stuff, it's been turned off, disconnected. But now you have to, by, I think it's state law, you have to bring those lines up above ground level by state law.
Right.
And that's where our city workers,
I'm not arguing the requirement.
Our city
I'm just
workers?
saying, why couldn't a licensed plumber do that same thing?
If they, I mean, if they're inside the city limits messing with any of that, you know, the demolition company will come in, whether it's what we use Mac White several times.
Jared
Uh,
polished the,
I
Yeah.
think Buster Mills
Johnny
does
White.
demo.
Johnny White, yeah.
Johnny White.
But they'll come in and demo the structure, but before that, then they'll have a plumber come in there and disconnect all like. the
But they
sewer and
don't,
water.
they don't plumb it up above the ground.
That's what I would require them
Yeah.
to do that.
Yeah, see, they take it back to the meter, shut the meter off and cap it just the property owner side of the meter.
And
And that's
I
it.
mean, are you talking about city workers or private plumbers?
I'm talking about the demo people. They just come in and knock it down. They don't do any
They
of
really
that.
don't. I've had-
Because that should have all been done by the owner of the property. So that would be this gentleman's job to make sure all that's done prior.
No,
That's-
ma'am.
that's
I've had properties demoed, and a demo company does not come in and start demoing.
We don't
because they
have-
could
we-
Start a gas fire, they could electrocute their workers.
We don't have demo companies here.
There's not a whole.
There's
no
not
one
demo
that does
companies
it. I mean,
here. So
There's
we're
people
not.
around here that will do
we're-
it, but
yeah.
What my expectation on the building services side, if we know that, just take you for example.
Hmm.
We know Clayton's gonna demo this substandard that we have. I would require him to apply for a demo permit. We would also explain our city of Alpine building services expectations in regards to, he would have to hire a professionally licensed plumber to cap that sewer, water and gas, because he is on the private side. Our city employees do not do
Yeah.
anything as far as capping.
And that was my challenge
I
to
would
her,
require-
because she kept saying the city employees have to do it.
Well,
So
it's
I
up
would-
to him to make sure that all the permits, it's not us, it's the permits.
Correct.
That they go to him for all of that.
They would come to me, I would verify. make
Yes,
sure-
ma'am. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Andrew. So the last demo that the city actually took care of on Market Street was a trailer that did have utilities connected to it, but they were disconnected, where the service just wasn't being provided. When the boards and our building and standards decided to demolish it, the expectation with the demolisher was Mr. White. He actually performed that.
Mhm.
He did go in and make sure all of this utilities were actually capped. So the line was physically cut, capped, not connected to the meter. Gas wasn't on the property. All the electrical stuff was taken care of beforehand, before he would even go in there and pull down the property. So the expectation was outlined as part of, one, we're demolishing it, this is what we're expecting you to do. And then, of course, he did build the city and we put a lien on the property for that amount. But he did receive a set of instructions that said before you can even go in there with a bulldozer, A, B, and C have to be taken down or have to be removed. So as long as the expectation, I believe, is laid out, I don't think any one person who's gonna get paid a large sum of money is gonna be like, no, I can't do it.
Well, and it's not like they don't do it for a living.
Correct. And then Mr. White, there is other people, but Mr. White was the one who did
Yeah.
take this job. It is the only building that I'm aware of that was actually brought to the ground and demolished, disposed of. But he made sure that before his crew even touched anything, that everything was disconnected.
Since 2016, that's the only one that's been done.
No, there's two.
Yeah.
The city did not bring down the second one. The owner of the property brought it down.
And then Gallegos too.
That's the one I'm talking
Okay,
about.
yeah.
Gallegos. The,
And since then, that property has been sold and there is a new trailer.
Yeah, it looks nice. I mean, they got it cleaned up, got the old thing down and
They
new
went
trailers
in.
in there.
and when,
Mark, if you were there,
Right.
gas was new.
yeah,
Yes, there are expectations with demolished.
and that goes into their contracts, correct? Is that in their contracts too, when they, because I know you accept bids on the demolishing.
So this one was handled kind of differently than if it would have been handled today. So yes, there should be a contract with the level of what's responsible, the city, what's responsibility of the demolisher, the contractor,
Uh-huh,
and then it gets signed off and agreed.
okay, got it.
One more question, because again, this is experience. When they bring the sewer line, they cut it, they bring it out, they bring up a 90-degree, the cap is physically glued on, right?
That is
All right,
correct.
because kids will pull that cap off and drop everything
Everything.
imaginable
I
down in
verify
there.
that vehicle.
Okay, I have had this experience, so
Everything, that's correct.
trust me, there's a lot of stuff that will jam a sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm, yep.
It don't take much either.
It
And
does
we will
not, it
go
really
through,
doesn't. The t-shirt can do it.
Jessica and I'll go through, have a set procedure, and that is written in stone, that as far as expectations for them. You pull a permit for demo, you will have everything laid out in front of you as a project.
Okay.
Do we make the demolishing and jobs, are those bid on publicly?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, they will put,
So we're only required to go out for bids if we're gonna contract with someone who we're gonna spend $50,000 or more. That is the state requirement.
Okay.
So if we're aware of someone that, we go and ask them, hey, I'll do it for 20, and we're not gonna use them again, like we're only gonna use them for the one time, then we wouldn't necessarily go out for a bid
Okay.
because they fall within the allowable levels that we're not required to.
And
Now,
is
if
that-
we have multiple properties and we know that we're gonna have to bid out 5 houses or 4 properties, however you wanna word it, then we would have to go out because ideally, based on today's costs, we're gonna look at spending more than 50,000 for all.
Okay. Now, I put this in my application, but I've got equipment and things like that, and I can do demo, but I don't know what the.
we kind of back off of that because it's kind of like that, yeah, it's a conflict of interest.
We
Okay.
couldn't pay you after you decided to turn it.
Okay,
That's-
good to know.
Yeah, because then you'd be profiting from,
The decisions that, yeah.
That we make.
Exactly.
I've had some
You'd actually be
work on.
influencing the
Yeah.
decision.
Asked me to work on one of those properties we looked at. I'm like,
And
oh,
he-
I was like, I'm like,
he
Yeah, do
sustained from, he
Yeah.
even sustained from the vote. Because he's like, no,
You
I'm
actually
stepping
have to
back.
Be a politician to profit from your own decisions.
Yeah.
Okay?
So-
They're exempt.
Well, hopefully this is.
they're voting right now.
Worst case scenario, having the city have to
Yeah.
go out and hire somebody to do that. We'd like to get 100% compliance from.
From the owners.
Yes, and I can't remember that trailer house, but I think everybody involved with it had passed away.
The one
Yeah.
on Murphy Street, yes.
Yes, I
At
think
the
they'd all
very end?
passed.
No.
Yeah.
At the
uh-huh.
very end.
No, it's maybe like 4 blocks up from like 11th, maybe like 14th or something like that. That front porch on is all crooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always some guy hanging out. Yeah.
13th and Murphy?
Yep.
Yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
yeah.
It was a single wide and just didn't have utilities, but someone lived there.
Yes.
Yeah, someone was living in there. No, very unsanitary.
Mhm.
Yeah, not even a hot water heat, no water. No,
Lots of cats and dogs, yes. ma'am.
yes. So
Whole floor.
that one was, yeah. And I have a question, Megan, for you. Is there a city ordinance where trailer houses coming into Alpine city limits now have to be a certain age? They can't be the older trailers.
So there is an age limit on the ordinance, or, I'm sorry, there is an ordinance on the age limit of trailers being not only moved within the city limits, but being brought in.
Okay,
If I'm not mistaken, 1976.
I want to say it's either 67 or 76.
I think it's
I get a little-
1976.
I was gonna say, we got a lot of them sit fifties and sixties in this
As
town.
long as it doesn't move and it stays where it's at,
Uh-huh.
it's fine. But if they were to decide, I bought a lot over here and they wanted to pick it up and move it, that would not be allowed.
Not be allowed.
They'll
Okay.
have to bring it down and
Because I've noticed some people buying lots wanting to put trailer house, they're wanting to put the older ones. And I says, I don't think that age is allowed in the city limits.
so there is a set age. I always get the numbers back.
Yeah, but
I
they,
think it's.
they're never told when they go to buy this property.
Now they're stuck with an old trailer, nowhere to put it.
No, they're stuck with property they can't do anything with.
Yes, we buy them.
They have to buy a new one.
Yes. But they had a trailer, they wanted to move to it, and then they find out they can't, so.
They inherited grandma's trailer.
Uh-huh, Yeah.
That's where we're trying to educate the public to ask questions before you purchase, before you build.
and then I have one other question. Over on Avenue F. There was a trailer house over there. Been set vacant. We were trying to get it demolished, removed over around 4th or 5th Street over in there. Remember brown and white
Oh,
trailer?
with all the tires up on top of it.
Yes, that one.
Back behind your property, I think. Back behind the brewery.
Yeah, over in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the corner. It's a double wide.
No,
No.
no, not that one. No, it's not a double, it's a single wide. What they did was they pulled that trailer out. After we had it demolished, they moved a new trailer in. But I don't think it was ever taken care of and taken off of our books. So, but you, like you said, you're starting fresh and new, so,
Hand in hand for what happened in the past.
Yeah.
right, okay. Cause I was kind of worried about that, cause all of a sudden it's gone and a new trailer sitting there, it's like, uh-oh,
Hmm.
Cause that falls under the ordinance, if we had it demoed, for demo. Then, and they put a brand new one on there, well, it gets demoed. It's like. So, okay, that was one of my questions.
But if they complied and fixed the problem before demo, then is that, because that's the goal that we want, right? We want the old stuff gone and either new stuff built up or cleaned up.
Right, yes,
So that's a win.
at their expense and not the city.
Exactly.
And the thing with that would be communication. So
Yes.
Though it would have been okay, you know what? We're gonna just get rid of it. We're gonna put a new one in. I think the communication stops at some point. And so that's like where Gio and both Andrew have said, where we're coming back and starting fresh checklists, having a conversation. Because you guys haven't met in a while. We've gone through 2 building official spins. It's making sure that, we have the, okay, you demolished it, but you're saying this, we're gonna give you 60 days to pull it out and put a new one in. If you don't comply, then
They would have to get new permits for the new build. We would check electrical, mechanical, and
Uh-huh.
plumbing, sight lines, surveys, all that,
But
and we would check the model.
point of clarity, because Jerry's question was, if it's, let's say 67. If it's older than 67, you said they couldn't,
they wouldn't,
Move
they'd
it.
have to demolish it.
they
wouldn't get it.
couldn't move it, and you,
They could move it out of town, out of county.
I think that the answer is no.
I'd have to double check the ordinance, but my understanding is you're not supposed to move it.
It's not supposed to move it, so if they
Oh,
run
okay.
it off the lot,
It would be
then,
a subplot demolition.
yeah.
Okay,
The question would
I think
be.
we
is
were talking
where
about like-
to go.
Yeah,
want
that- that's
right.
into that property.
That's
that
when you-
homeowner.
Okay.
Yeah,
right,
that's
So
a
if-
situation where you have a pickup that follows, picks up everything that
Yeah,
falls
they
off.
took the old one out.
Right. Yes,
Whatever.
yes.
Good. But we just don't want
Okay.
that lien to go.
and then I had
Yeah.
one question
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the list you have here of the properties. The pink, 8 and 9, is it 8 and 9?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are they, she hit all the colors but pink. So, she got the green and the yellow, but what's the pink mean? There's no addresses.
I'll have to ask her on that one. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Same property, two different owners, paid not resolved.
I think she said they were cited already.
Oh, they're
I think
cited.
we
We're in
said-
citation stage, but I would have to.
Paid, not resolved.
Okay, and then I know there's some here, they give the tax description for property taxes, but they don't give a physical address on here.
'Cause we would go by the Brewster County legal address through that.
Okay. And then,
That's caused us problems before.
yes, it has big time. And the other thing I guess I need to ask Rod is like, we had problems and it's the barber shop on Murphy Street. That we have, the old barber shop that we have problems with because the owner died. His son inherited,
Sold
but the son has never changed the property to his name.
Hmm.
That's where our hangup was with that property.
The lady in the back died, that lived in the house behind it?
That was his mother.
Oh, she passed?
I don't know.
Oh,
No.
okay.
it.
Oh,
It was a young student from Sul Ross that bought those houses, I thought. She called me up and wanted me to look at them to see about what it would take to remodel those things.
This is the one that's right next to the bottle house, like
Yep.
part of the fence.
The
fell
bottle
out.
house
oh,
street. It only has two sides on it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm thinking of another spot.
Yeah, no, you're thinking a different barber shop.
Yes, yeah.
There's two barber shops on Murphy, right down there by each other.
Oh, by my shop.
One is, we're not talking about the one in the block where Patty Hilbreth's shop is.
So you have to be a little bit clear, because I don't think Andrew's gonna understand bottle shop.
Oh, sorry.
Unless
Bottle house.
you're here and understood it, that's for.
Which road, barber shop on Murphy?
Bottle house.
Oh,
By the bottle house.
The Airbnb, I believe.
Yeah, it's-
in
it's,
Murphy and Fifth, half a block west of Murphy and Fifth.
Yeah.
Isn't
And
it right across from that gaming, which was Little Mexico?
yes,
Yep.
Right,
Yes.
right there.
because you look and you
Kinda
can
does.
see in, and his big argument was, well, that barber chair is historical and it's sitting in there. Two sides are exposed. I don't know how the roof's standing up, you know,
We
and
gave them, I don't know how many times to move that deal, but we had a deal for a demo. But unfortunately, the thing is, it attached to that house behind it, which is a
at
decent
the
house.
time, we couldn't demolish it
And we didn't want to,
because we would tear down the lady's house.
So here's what the Historical Association will tell you, because I've dealt with them as well. The outside of the structure is very, very important. The inside of the structure must be brought to code, and they don't care. They're not gonna look at it.
This one isn't on the historical
I
registration.
understand, but what his argument about, it's the inside that's historical bullshit.
no.
Yeah. Yeah,
Also
so,
have to Remember, the city does have a historical.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is in the
Inside is not
historical
historic.
district, but it is not marked as a historical site. And it is actually hazardous because they actually had the one wall of that old barber shop fall out into the street.
Mhm.
And they had to shut the streets down to get it all cleaned up.
Yes, ma'am, and you're exactly hitting what I was going on.
Mhm.
If it was built 100 years ago to residential standards, which didn't exist,
Right,
and now they want to use it as a commercial property, it is an entirely new ballgame.
right. And all those on Murphy Street were built for business at the time.
Yes, ma'am, but I owned one of them, and I can tell you they didn't meet code.
No.
No, none of them do. Because, you know, they were built back in 1880 something. They didn't have codes back then.
Even in the 1960s, you look at anything built in around here and it's the same thing.
Yeah,
that would be something.
okay. Yeah, but that's a thing that we're gonna run into, y'all are gonna run into. And that kind of ties our hands unless Rod has a way around it. Knows of legal steps we can take. Because we can't force the guy to put the property in his name.
I think Rod would definitely have to be involved, just from my standpoint, if it is under the tax district as deeded to one individual, they ultimately are responsible. Whether they sold the property or not, that is their issue, not the city.
Well, like I said, his father passed away, he inherited it. but he's never taken it out of his father's name and put it into his, because the taxes are like $100 a year or something. I don't know.
And there are legal steps. It's just like when you go into probate, you have wills.
Uh-huh. Okay, because we're finding a lot of that dealing with these properties also,
That would be a part of our process.
because we can't get a hold of the legal owner because they're not
They're not of record.
they're not alive anymore.
Yeah, and again, personal experience, when I bought the new property, you won't say we want to reference the Brewster County records for addresses. Brewster County records took me a year. My new property was 203 East Murphy. Jody Cole's office is 203 East Murphy on the tax rolls for a year. So
Mhm.
That's why those letters are in.
Yeah.
That's
With
why
our
if they come
certified
back, then we can go back and revisit. We can do more research. The letters are the key.
Yeah.
right, but in my case, the
They
letter
have
had
our
gone to
deal.
the wrong address, which I think it did. Because finally, Jessica said, you're not responding to your letters. We're gonna fine you if you don't deal with those weeds. Well, I never got the letters.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like when we do like these liens or, certified letters to these people, we need to have a physical address, their mailing address, and our geographical plot of that property. Because I think that's what caused us some issues before.
Yeah, and I know
One thing
our
goes
meetings have to
the
be
other.
put in the newspaper.
The actual minutes of the meeting?
No,
No.
no,
Oh,
our
the
meeting,
Upcoming.
yes, like they do for
Planning and zoning.
city council or whatever, that it's in the newspaper to let everybody know. That is a must.
And if you're getting close to be wanting to adjourn, I would like to request something for next meeting.
Yeah, I actually have a few housekeeping items.
Okay.
Whenever y'all are.
Okay, any other questions, comment or questions?
So I do have some items.
Okay,
Firstly, I'd like to thank each of y'all for your willingness to serve. This commission plays a critical part of enhancing public safety in our community. And has a as a couple of you surely know. City staff does have an open door policy with questions, comments, or concerns. So if you have any questions at any time, contact me, contact them, either the city manager or the building official will be happy to help. If you do want to recommend a change in ordinance, I work very intimately with all of the ordinances, so I'd be happy to help in that regard as well. And just to reiterate, that board meetings are typically held on the fourth Wednesday of each month. This next month, Wednesday, November 23rd is actually going to be a city holiday. I am wondering if the board would like to meet for a special meeting next Monday, the 21st, or next Tuesday, the 22nd
Of November.
of November. It's not really, I mean, we could probably go without having a meeting in November, but December, we typically don't have any meetings.
yeah,
So I prefer to meet sometime next month.
okay,
Do
yeah,
you think that might work for you all?
November, what was that date?
November 21st is Monday?
The week of Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, or Tuesday, the 22nd.
yeah, that
I'm
should,
driving to Maryland on the 21st.
Oh.
Won't work for me.
that Tuesday, the 22nd, though, isn't that board meeting? City council?
No, City council's on the 1st and the 15th.
Okay, I think the 22nd would work better for me. But it's all up to y'all. I'll go with the flow.
I've got family come in from all over that whole week, but I could sneak away if need be.
Yeah, for an hour or so, yeah.
That brings up a question that I had. So a quorum. We have five
We have five.
board members and we have 2 alternates. So is a quorum 3?
No.
So, a quorum will typically be at least 4, especially if it's a full board. We are currently working with the city council. The city council is considering an ordinance to change and update all of the guidelines, rules, and requirements for boards and commissions. This one included. The second and final reading of that ordinance will be entertained next Tuesday. So after that, we're going to update a handbook to send out to you all, which would provide some structure, some better guidelines, so a lot of good information. But Yeah, right now, you're gonna need at least 4 members to be present in order to conduct business.
And if they add you two to the board, then we have to have 6 to be a quorum.
I don't think an alternate doesn't.
So that's the way the ordinance is right now.
Okay,
Right
an
now,
alternate
there's
is
2
part of the quorum.
alternates, and they're non-voting, and the
Right.
alternate, you 2 are the alternates right now.
Okay.
And in the case that somebody would be absent, you would step into a voting role, one of you. But after the proposed ordinance, if it does pass as written on Tuesday, then the 2 alternates would actually become 2 at-large voting members, which would mean, that it would be better for everybody to attend because there might be a tie.
Okay, then, so that gets to so Clayton and I can't do 21 or 22. So that
Okay.
means
Would
everybody
we
else
need
has
more?
to show up.
Would we need more alternates when
No, they,
these 2 join?
No.
no, because they're basically floating.
I see. Okay,
So, no.
okay.
So that change was made to streamline all the boards, commissions, committees. There was no such thing as alternates except on this board, and the city council wanted a uniform structure for every board.
I get it. Okay.
So the 21st, 22nd, would that work for any of y'all? I mean, we could look at the week prior as well. It's just
How about the 16th? What do you think about that?
the 6th.
Works for me.
Will that work for you?
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah.
What about you, Clayton? That
That'd
work?
be better- that'd be better for me, yeah.
November 16th is on a Wednesday, right?
Yes,
Sure.
And that's before Art Walk and all that,
So
so,
the third
Yeah.
Wednesday.
yes, the art walk starts on the 17th.
yes.
It would work for us.
So November 16th,
Yes, at 5:30.
5:30. Okay,
Good call.
Alrighty, so I just wanted to also make sure that each of you sign your oath of office located in the black folder and the statement of officer, which are and then I'll complete the certificate on the bottom. I also asked that each member should stick around shortly. I have a conflict of interest document for each of you to sign as well.
The certifications get turned in also for the new guys?
Yes, I can take those two.
So I have are you finished? Okay, so for the next meeting, if we would put on the agenda, I would like to ask some questions of Rod about some of the legalities, particularly the exposures that we possess or that we take on as members of this board.
The city has errors and omission insurance that covers.
So it's similar to DNO then. Okay, that's a great answer.
Did you still want to add an item on the agenda?
I still have some questions. I mean, the criminal is going to be prosecution, the civil is a lawsuit. And a lawsuit can be brought by anybody, any citizen that's disgruntled. And defending a lawsuit is a very expensive proposition. So,
We have insurance that also protects us with lawsuits.
okay,
And there's like there is a part in the state code that if you're an elected or appointed member of the city, that as long as you conduct yourself with good faith, that you're basically kind of,
good faith is one of those kind of vague,
I know, I'm just saying that there
I
is that
understand.
statute as well.
right? And then the only other thing, again, we can resolve it today. The ordinance that he read about the primary structure versus the secondary structures and so forth, we can add a simple by way of example to that for clarity. Because different people are going to read that differently and obviously have.
Mhm.
So even if we don't overtly change it, we can enhance the definitions. And that's quite common in legal documents.
It would still be an ordinance change and it would have to go before council. Instead of red tag lining it, we would actually just add a section that would provide a clear definition or a clear understanding.
Okay,
But because it's an ordinance, it still has to go before council.
I understand.
And so that would have to be passed by majority vote by the board as a recommendation.
And and it would probably have to go out for public comment and all the other steps. And I get all that, but it's a simple fix. And I'm all about simple and I'm all about moving things into the completed column.
So
We gotta go
it's,
through all the red tape.
So that should be an item for your next agenda, to
Yes.
discuss enhancing, modifying, changing, whatever word you'd like to.
And we need.
And I
we need
do want
work
to
with
just
you.
add that it's more cost efficient for the city to make all the changes at once, because we get charged each time we have to change ordinance and have them codified. So I would highly recommend taking a deep dive into all of the building and standards ordinances, just to make sure.
And I think I
we
have,
Get as much done in one go as possible.
I think I might have the paperwork on that ordinance, the way we wanted it to read.
Yeah, if you could send it to me, and then if somebody would actually just add the item, then we can go about it that way.
Okay,
Okay.
and then so, and I understand costs, and I'm all for saving money. So do you do ordinance updates quarterly then?
We do them as needed, and we actually budget quite a bit towards that. But my whole point is that it would be better if, even if it's just a small change, if there's multiple changes, like, let's go ahead and try to make those changes.
Okay.
Let's take the extra time.
You said you've been reading all the codes and ordinances. Have you got anything that you would like to see changed or clarified?
Not so far, not so far. Still want to dive deeper in.
I also heard a rumor, and you know, the rumor mill is not very accurate. But I've heard a rumor that we have been using the IEC for our building and standards codes, and we're considering moving to another building and standards codes.
So we do use the ICC, we're just using, so ICC has different, they have 2018, they have 2000, I think it's 20, we're on 21. So ICC, just like state law, updates.
It does, but the
So-
rumor I heard was we were gonna move away from ICC to another code.
That would be a
No.
rumor.
Yeah, that would be a rumor. What is my goal in building services? If we don't have a specific year, our ordinance states the most recent edition of the ICC family of codes. But our plumbing is the UPC,
Right.
electrical's NEC.
NEC.
State law went to 2020 NEC, November 1st of 2020. I want to maintain the consistency within ICC family. So the only change I wanted to do was put a specific year to where we would be up to the 2021 ICC code families with the addition of the 2021 IPC instead of the UPC, just to
Okay.
keep that.
Right, and I caution you on not caring about the year, because there's new things in the codes about energy efficiency, about greenness that are not in the old codes, and I don't even know that they're in the 2019 codes, so. And the reason I'm asking this is I've got 6 professional engineers that are charging me by the hour, and if we change horses, that's gonna have a financial impact on me.
So it wouldn't really be changing.
Okay, good, thank you.
And if you or anybody else would actually like to recommend a change in ordinance, if y'all could contact me and have that discussion, because I need to know what to put on the agenda, what kind of information to prepare for the commission.
I suggest we start, if Jerry can find the old revisions that they wanted to consider. We don't need to reinvent that.
Yeah.
I am not sure. I can look through it and see. Yeah, I'll look through this and see if I can find it. And if Robert shows up, I might get with Robert and see if he still has it.
Okay.
That would speed things up.
Okay, and again, if y'all have any questions, you want to insight, any one of us, just please reach out. You could, typically, you would reach out to the chair to add an agenda item, but currently there isn't the chair, so you could come directly to me.
So Robert was the previous chair. Robert has been reappointed, but now we have to elect a new chair.
Yeah, so basically the new ordinance I was describing earlier, if that's passed on Tuesday, that would then shift the responsibility of appointing the chair from the council to the individual board or commission. So if that passes Tuesday, at the next meeting, there will be an item to appoint the chair.
Okay.
Good job, Anita.
Any other comments or questions? I mean, we've covered a lot of stuff today.
So thank you for catching me up, because
There's a lot to keep track of. Okay, well then, adjourn. If nobody else has any questions,
Second.
I think you have to announce the date and time.
It just says adjourn. July-
I just.
July,
finished all of Those
Jan-
videos,
No,
and they said you had to announce the time at the beginning and at the
Yeah.
end.
I heard that too.
Yeah, you can.
okay, it is set six.
6:50, sorry.
What, six,
And that.
42?
650.
6:50, okay.